Your comments on the ordinances. We would like to thank you for caring about our community and taking the time to come. If you think of something afterwards, or if something doesn't get discussed tonight, if you would like to submit it in writing, you can do that by next Wednesday before our regular meeting on Thursday. You can submit those to Beth.
Email or
whatever.
I'll just yell across the yard.
I'll meet you in the middle.
Or you'll be able to highway.
Our regular meeting date, as I'm sure most of you know, is the third Thursday of each month, here in the Lions Hall. We begin at 6:30. The agendas for our meetings are posted in the window of the building out here, at least 72 hours in advance, which is required by Missouri law. Now, let's see. Our meeting is going to end at 9, which, given the amount of people, hopefully won't be a problem. But if we don't get to a comment, like I said, or we don't get to discuss something or what have you, you can just submit it in writing for the meeting next week. So, board members, we introduce ourselves. I'm Natalie May. I'm the newly elected chairman of the board.
Yay. That's right. Yay. That's right.
So which way we going?
I don't care. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm Melissa Turley, and I'm just a member of the board.
I'm David Lanehart.
I do.
That's just me.
Lori Fisher.
And Beth Wheeler. Aletha, I think, is our longest serving member.
Mm-hmm.
So she has a lot of institutional memory that the rest of us don't have. So we need to listen carefully to what she says.
Okay, let me read here. We want to remind everybody to, let's see here, hold on. I lost my place. As our ordinances state, we will be listening to each other and behave civilly toward each other. So just throw that out there. Beth is going to be taking notes from this meeting so that we can discuss them at our regular board meeting on next Thursday. So I think we're going to begin with the ordinances on page 32 and 35, since those seem to be the ones who have the most concern from what we've heard.
Actually, let me go through 49, sorry.
Okay.
Because that's the my crap, I should have put that
Okay. Okay, I'm, just read the summaries, you think? Of them, and then
Well,
everybody
does
has
everybody
them?
have a copy?
Yeah, I mean, everybody.
So we're on page 32.
You got another copy, Beth? I thought I had it here on my phone, I don't.
Yeah. But you have it down, please. Thanks.
You need. Oh, okay, so you can do.
Okay, on page 32, we have animals, I mean, I'm sure most of you have read, prohibiting non-domestic and dangerous animals in the village of Jameson, declaring unlawful the running at large of animals, taking any animal across another's property without permission, or obstructing traffic with an animal in related matters. Does anybody, I just want to go through
Section
these.
1, anybody have anything?
Anybody
about
have
those?
any comments, concerns? Anything on those?
Anything at all?
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Okay.
On section 1, which goes over to,
Section goes
it's
through
basically the
one.
definitions
Mm-hmm.
on this one, and the only one that I have issue of, and it probably will be addressed later on, is the at-large.
And what do you think it should say? What's she talking about? Number 5.
I'm talking about number 5.
Section 1, number 5.
Mm-hmm.
And it relates to the rest of the ordinance of an animal not being able, they must be restrained, I guess, at all times. And of course, I remember when you were actually passing this, and my son-in-law alerted me to come to the meeting that it was going to affect me. And I think his comment was that to you was that my dog should be grandfathered, but my dog's lived here for 12 years. My property doesn't consist of just one little yard. She's able to roam from my property over to our property across the street and out through the fields and the timber and that type of thing. And when I'm out of town, like I was last week for a week visiting with my family, my grandchildren, of course, she walks over to Mr. Worley's, who is her caretaker in my absence. And she has done that for 12 years. I've tried to explain to her now. And aside from keeping her on a rope, which I really refuse to do, she's on the rope now. She'll be on the rope at times that she should be. But the rest of the time, and I do know at the last meeting we had, which I wasn't able to go home first, I actually came here directly from work. We were here considerably late. It was well after dark. And I went out. Of course, she was running around here because that's her nature. She's a dog. She's loyal to me. She was checking it out. She saw I was here. But in the 12 years that her life has been here, she's never bit anyone. She's never, caused any problem that I've ever been complained about. And so I'm concerned there at the at-large thing, because I'm not going to keep her on a leash at all times at home, and there's no way for me to chain in an area for that type of thing. So she basically is at large. And so I can see where if it was a dangerous animal or, some type of an animal that could cause injury to someone else, or a known biting animal, or somebody that had caused some problems. But in this case, for my personal situation, I have a dog that would be not in compliant with the at-large factor there. And so I'm letting you know up front that I have a real issue with that because of.
And so what's your suggestion for, because we can't say, the dog's going to bite somebody until they bite somebody, and then it's, now it has to be restrained?
That would be, should my dog ever bite someone, which is highly unlikely unless you attempt to do something to her.
The fact is, the rules apply to everybody. My dog's at large too, so I'm not casting any stones because I feel
well,
I understand.
Here's the
how do we
thing:
do that?
Aren't we innocent until we are proven guilty, a type of a thing? And I think, I guess we need dog ordinances.
I'm
I've
not
lived
sure
here.
the little family of the little girl who got her head bitten off by a rock.
We can say that, but that family was actually tending that dog for someone, and maybe negligence on the mother's part to let a child go out with a dangerous dog.
Right, I understand that.
So,
but
and that dog was on a leash. If
it
I'm
wouldn't have been declared dangerous until it did something.
well,
And so I heard you saying dangerous should be included maybe in the definition.
I'm not saying anything about your definitions because I've lived here.
That's what we're talking about. See?
Well, I'm talking about the definition I'm addressing, which is number 5, which is the at-large issue.
So actually, like the section
Yeah,
4 where it
restrain.
actually says, it shall be unlawful for any person to permit any animal to run at large. You're not arguing with the definition of what at large means. You're just
I'm only speaking. I'm speaking to my particular situation. I don't know. I mean, someone had a dangerous dog here. You didn't know it was a dangerous dog. I think it was one of that would have actually fallen under your classification of dangerous dog in here. And so maybe the dangerous dog issue could be, I don't have an issue with that if a dog is dangerous. And yes, if a dog should happen to bite, but, all I'm saying is since 2004, when I
I've heard you say that.
took the dog in.
I'm trying to get to a resolution. How do we fix this? And the fix is you just say do away with number
dangerous
5,
dogs.
large.
Dangerous dogs.
Oh, so now we're back to defining dangerous dogs.
Well,
Is that right? You want to say dangerous dogs shouldn't be able to roam at large, or should be securely restrained on or off the premises of its owner. That's number 5.
I would think if someone had a dangerous dog, they would keep their dog restrained, and that should be part of it. If that, in fact, you want to have an ordinance for that, I don't have issue with that. A dangerous dog. I think you've listed a number of breeds that are dangerous in here, so you've kind of defined it down to a more specific area of if you've got a Rottweiler, you've got whatever these types of dogs are. I'm not familiar with dog breeds. Where I came from, we had dogs. They didn't have breeds of dogs. It was a dog. So if you've got a dog, a known dangerous breed that someone has in town, which we cite one incident here of some people that lived here. The dog was restrained. It was on, and it was a negligent part on the parent, apparently, an accident, whatever.
We
But
have had dogs in the past also that have been in packs. People just dumped it out. They weren't anybody's dog. They just ran around and they ran in a pack. And were they a dangerous breed? No. But if they were hungry, would they,
those
get into other people's-
those dogs actually attacked my dog. I had 2 incidences where I actually paid a veterinarian to sew her, to stitch her up, to repair. She's suffering from injuries from those dogs, and she still barks where they used to live. Those people, and in the past, I guess the local people shot the dogs.
Right,
I
but
know
what's
people
the solution for our ordinances? How do we prevent that from happening?
from somebody. If we have an ordinance, how is an ordinance going to prevent someone from dropping dogs off in this community?
But it's also, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I think this is a really complicated ordinance here, because there are dogs that are securely leashed and they're not dangerous. They're, we've got dogs running around our neighborhood and they're cute little things and people don't seem to mind. When you come down to the fact that, and maybe it would needed to be listed, breeds, certain breeds for sure need to be secured. But then there's a lot of them that don't, and maybe, and I guess the thing that bothers me is we have to pass this ordinance, and now it applies to everybody, to every little innocent dog, and it doesn't seem fair. I have to agree with you. You want your dog grandfathered in? Okay, that's interesting. But you're right. It doesn't seem fair to require your dog to be on a leash, or my neighbor's dog, little curly thing running around annoying everybody, but it's not on a leash, but it's not that annoying to make a specific hard line, cut and dried, this is the way it is. And I guess one of the reasons you have to do that is because if there's a complaint, then they have something to refer to.
And there isn't, I remember when we done this, we did not want a leash law. And there is not anything in here that says the animal has to be on a leash. So,
Well,
but
I
yeah,
guess
it
not
does,
securely
yeah.
restrained.
Yeah, but then, yeah, at large is pretty much kind of, yeah.
Well, I think the essence of the ordinance is not necessarily breed specific dogs or whatever, whether it's a Chihuahua or whether it's a Ronnie or whether it's a horse. It's more based on owner specific. If you've got a miniature poodle and a Chihuahua and other things running around all the time, not with no boundaries whatsoever by the owners, I mean, where do we address that? Where do we address the little black and white dog the dog that got hit on the highway not long ago? I mean, it was a child's dog. The child's upset. The family's upset. Well, now that dog is the dog's hurt. It's now somebody else's problem because it was hurt. Somebody hit it, which causes turmoil and stuff. I think the essence is for more owner responsibility of their animals. I know your dog quite well. When I walk my boys, I don't have my little brown one on a leash, but she's just wonderful. I mean, she's over by Mr. Worley's, and she's not a problem or anything, but she knows where her home is and where to stay versus roaming, or even or Beth's dog or any dogs. But where do we go if we don't have any boundaries?
Maybe we should have an ordinance for stray dogs and stray dogs, dropped off dogs, and their disposal. And then otherwise it would be the responsibility of the owner of the dog to make sure their dog doesn't violate anybody's private rights. And once that did, it's like my neighbor, Vance Heffley. His dog has chased my horses. I spoke with him about this. His dog recently picked my dog up and shook her, and he and apparently Mr. Worley, it took a lot of effort to break the dogs apart because his dog was attacking my dog. Well, dogs are territorial, and dogs are going to fight just like humans are going to fight. But when I spoke to Vance yesterday, or Tuesday, I guess, about the dog ordinance and so forth, his father alerted him to that, and his dog runs at large, and every morning she's going to chase Mr. Heffley up the road and back and that type of thing. She runs across, she got through my lawn, and she has crabbed right outside my back door numerous times. But I don't necessarily feel that we need an ordinance to punish that dog or to punish Mr. Heffley for his dogs running at large. It was a neighbor thing. We spoke, whatever. The dogs have made their alliance or their differences or whatever. But I don't need a law to pick his dog up and put it in jail because it shook my dog or it shook my horses or because it runs past my place chasing someone. It hasn't hurt me. It's a dog, and we're dealing with it on that level instead of now someone's going to be a criminal. They're going to have to go get their dog out, or if they're unlawfully trying to keep you from taking their dog, or all of this stuff. Whereas I think if it was major city, but the fact remains, I've lived here 20 years. Any dog issues we had, somebody with a gun took care of it on those dogs that got dropped off or somebody moved or eventually. And I'm not saying that that's the way to do it, but that's how it's been done in Jameson for history since I've been here and before that. And I don't see that we have a major dog, and having an ordinance is going to keep these dogs out of our community anyway. We haven't any dogs lately, but they don't know about the ordinances that you've passed. So apparently nobody's dropping dogs off right now.
Well, I've got a big black one that somebody did drop off not long ago that was going to be rehomed, but he evidently is now mine.
He's your home.
But,
That's how I got my dog.
You know, I've rehomed 7 from Davies County. 2 of them that are now my dogs, and one of them and I've only been here a little over 4 years, and you know, there's always going to be a problem. We just I think the essence of the ordinance is to have some backup for.
But what about these dogs that are dropped off? I fostered 2 dogs myself till they were adopted out, because I have, you know, for animals, I think they have their rights too that need to be looked at and so forth. So I just don't see how this ordinance is going to solve any problems that we currently have or might. You know, I mean, dangerous dog. That's my comment on it. Dangerous dogs. Otherwise, a dog is a resident of a community and been here, and if they've got a 12-year, your dogs. I mean, best dog, and my dog. They don't like each other, but what do you say? I mean,
so dangerous dogs are defined on page 37, section 11. And I know people that have Rottweilers and have, I mean, not here in this town, but they don't believe their dogs are fighting dogs and evil dogs and
Exactly.
dangerous dogs. And so to say dangerous dogs is implying it's someone else's dog rather than my dog, you know, or whatever. So we may need to go back and look at that. It's just saying that nobody's going to keep a dangerous dog unless it's securely restrained and for being at large any time, which is the same as that page at 37.
At large,
And they have to have a
says
sign.
on their property and off of their property. I'm wondering if at large could be confined to off of their property, and so that if they're on their own property.
On the dangerous or back here on the regular, on page
What is
32.
the definition
On
of it?
On the definition of at large. So you would say off
At large.
Off the
would be
premises.
If they're off the premises of the owner, then not with the owner. I don't know.
And that doesn't get to what Mary Ann was saying, but that, I mean, if they come and kill your chickens, they're a dangerous dog, right? I mean, because you didn't like it because they got over your property, jumped over your fence and killed your chickens. And any dog might do that.
and then constitutionally, I should pay restitution to her if my dog kills her chicken. I'm going to have to buy her a whole bunch of new chickens.
Yeah.
That's how the
There's not-
Constitution would do it, but
And neighbors working things out.
right. But at the at-large, it's like I said, you know, I strung fence on, but I'm not going to put a fence around my yard. I can't really see me doing that. And the dog probably's not going to live very long, but I'm not going to put her on a chain or a rope that she's there constantly because she walks from my place to Mr. Worley's, from Mr. Worley's home. If it's raining, when I got home at 10, she was at
Right,
his
we
place.
understand that, yeah.
All right,
We're
so-
30 minutes on our first issue here, so
Okay,
So I've noted what
We
we
got it
said.
noted,
Yeah,
and we'll
yeah.
just.
So and the note,
Kind of
and
look.
Doesn't number 6 go with that too? At least securely restrained.
that's what you. Yeah.
At large and number 6 too.
5 and
Securely restrained.
Okay. Thank you.
Natalie, couldn't Mary Ann write down
That would be Mary.
what she thinks this ought to say, and just give it to us so that we've got it?
That'd be great too.
No.
Then we'll have all the.
I'm not going to write anything down. I'm just telling you my dog's in violation and I'm in violation. There's another, put my name on the top of the list because there's one I'm going to be in violation with if that stays this way. but I'm gonna protect my dog.
And I think there's gonna be a lot of people who are gonna be affected by this who don't realize it, because we don't have a dog, but I see tons of dogs. Just, that's.
And I like to have a solution to that. We sent this out to every landowner, everybody who lives here. Everyone was invited to the meeting. They're aware, if they read and are interested in knowing, they should have the documents that tell them that this is an issue. So I don't know how we can, anyway. Okay.
Okay, well, I guess we've kind of
All right.
touched on the dog ordinance actually on page 35.
32 or 35 also.
35.
Well, I mean,
Sorry, just didn't get that.
well, I guess the dog ordinance,
Just saying that they
says
gotta
that they
have-
have to have vaccinations
And identification.
and identification
Oh,
tags.
I thought we were on that first section, so have you moved to a different section now?
But there's all, see, this is
That large
animals.
is also
Right.
on
32
page
is
35.
animals. and
But
then
when you said
dogs is
35 is
later.
dogs.
Right.
And that is
And
where
this
we
at
classify
large
fighting
offenses.
breeds and,
Okay, now are we on vaccinations?
We're not yet.
Okay.
If we're gonna go through this systematically, I guess, we're gonna get to dogs. Is that right? So we're gonna do non-domestic animals now, and we're gonna start at 32, on page 32.
32, yeah, I guess.
Otherwise, I'm not gonna know where my notes are. That's purely selfish in order to
Okay.
try
So
to make it
we
clear.
have been discussing animals, not so much specifically dogs.
Right.
So the next ordinance is actually on dogs.
Oh, you know what? If you look at the top of that, number 1, for purposes of this ordinance, it does not include dogs or domestic cats. So we really, our discussion is probably more toward page 35.
Towards page 35.
Okay, all right. So go ahead, I'm sorry, Naomi.
And actually, in the dog ordinance, page 35, it lists the definition of at-large off the premises of its owner
Defined
and not under the control of a competent person. But anyway, okay, comments on the dog ordinance.
No, what animal, are we gonna go through the
Are there
32
any
through
other-
35?
Or I guess, are there any
Sorry.
more, sorry, I'm
Okay, so
rushing through here. Are there any more comments on the animal ordinance that pertains to all
except dogs
animals
and cats.
except dogs and cats, I guess?
I just have one comment if no one else does. Okay, so section 5 of, on that, it says it's unlawful for any person to ride any horse or other animal across private property or upon any street. And I'm just wondering how I'm going to get from my pasture over by my place to my pasture up north if I can't ride my horse.
Well, I think
Anywhere.
doesn't it say if it blocks the street? I read that.
No, it says
shall
unless
be
it's
unlawful for any person to ride, walk, or drive any horse or other animal across or upon private property belonging to another without the consent of the property owner or upon any street,
Any
sidewalk,
street.
public area of the village in any manner to obstruct vehicle or foot traffic except in a parade or event or otherwise authorized by the village.
In any manner to obstruct traffic.
But it's not limited to that.
in any manner to obstruct traffic. It just says that you cannot ride it upon any street. So, if I don't take my wire cutters and cut fences down to go through people's private property and I can't go up the street, how am I going to ride my horse anywhere out of my own yard? Because the minute I pull them out of the pasture where they're at, they're going to be on a street.
I think that needs to be looked at too.
Yeah.
We see the Amish going by with their horse and buggy all the time, going to go fishing or whatever.
But they're not obstructing vehicle or foot traffic.
But
I
I've,
don't
ne-
think
I,
this is
I've never
written
obstructed
clearly
traffic
in
on my
the
horse.
to that.
It's badly written.
That one needs some kind of something, because I have not obstructed traffic by riding my horse up the street, because you
You're
don't
not
rarely
violating.
see traffic.
It should be unlawful to ride, walk, or drive any horse or animal across or upon private property belonging to someone
I agree
else
with that.
in any manner to obstruct vehicle or foot traffic, except in a parade or event otherwise authorized by the village.
To obstruct, so you're saying,
But the only time that it's illegal or unlawful to do it is if you're obstructing a vehicle or foot traffic.
Maybe, but I see maybe because it says or, you're
the
thinking that's something
way
separate. So
it's worded, I agree
Mary. I'm Mary.
with Mary.
Okay.
I
So how
agree
would
with
you
Mary.
change it?
So we could
Scratch that. Let you ride your horse on the street if you want to. I mean, who's going to get out in front of a car on their horse?
But, I mean, the
Nobody
thing
said you can't
is,
ride
if
horses on the
somebody's
street, we can't.
moving cattle through the streets of Jameson.
And I've never seen that.
I haven't either, but I'm saying, I'm saying that kind of thing is going to obstruct,
I'm not discussing
traffic.
the probability of any other thing. I
I
mean,
think if we see people moving cattle through the street.
Well,
there's
I'm just saying
That
hypothetical,
would be an obstruction.
Yeah, that would
We
be
don't
an
need
obstruction of
Section
a
5.
vehicle.
but me riding one horse and leading
No,
another
I
one,
agree. It's not-
Section
it's
5.
not a
Maybe it
problem.
needs to be removed.
there's no
So it's okay
removed.
to ride a horse on somebody's property without their
No, we're
consent?
not talking about the property. We're talking about the street. I don't ride on people's
Well,
property.
She was saying take everything out of 5, so I'm just trying to get clarity so I know what to write down. So, because the first part of
Well,
5,
why would it be our business if somebody's riding a horse on somebody's private property?
See,
That's
exactly.
not town business.
Nothing to do with you. Scratch section 5. Has nothing to do with the town.
It really doesn't.
If I ride on somebody's property,
That's the person whose property you're riding on.
exactly.
When
Private
they
property
come
rights.
to the town and say, they have the right to do this, well.
And they can call the police.
Or they can call me, or they can say to me, get off my property. But I don't ride on other people's property. I ride up the side of the street or down the middle of it.
so I got
There's no problem
35,
then,
page
you're not-
33, number 5, to
Okay.
scratch all that, is what the recommendation is.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, any other on the animal ordinance? Going once, going twice? Okay.
I just like it. I have a couple of words that really are offensive to me, and it is actually, we can, I mean, it's throughout here, so I don't do it, but I demanded, it's, when you're demanded,
Section 8.
it's unlawful for you to, and first of all, it's not a law anyway. These are ordinances. They have nothing to do with law, actual law. They're the ordinances of the village, but,
Which are the laws?
Which are the laws of the village?
That's what ordinance.
well, even in Missouri, they're resolutions. There's a difference between lawful and legal. So these may be legal here, but they aren't really law. And that's the definition.
8 says demand.
When demanded by a
On page
designated
31?
officer. On page 33.
Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, that's by a designated officer.
Well, and since we don't have the designated officer, we're going to have to go back through
Or,
and reword a
it's-
few things.
I noticed that, and I thought, yeah, some of these need to be.
so that
Which
part.
we have not gotten done yet, but
Right.
we will have to be.
So I'm good, and I can, we can wait till we get to section 13 to talk about demanded, if you'd like. That'd be fine with me.
Then you change that to requested.
Section 13.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 13,
Okay, I got page 33, section 8, I got that.
Okay. Are you talking about section 13 of the dog ordinance?
I'm on page 37, yes.
Okay, well, let's
Okay.
go to 34,
Okay.
right?
So, we are moving on from the animal ordinance onto the dog ordinance, page 35. Discussion?
Oh, there's that one.
I mean, if you, there's, on section 9, which I'm just skipping back a page, but I'm only making a comment on this, prolonged barking, howling, or yelping. Most night there's none of that, but some nights Heffley's dog just barks the entire night. Some nights my dog barks back at Heffley's dog. I mean, it happens. And I don't know, public nuisance. I'm just commenting on that. So,
I've heard that a lot, that dog barking. Or Jason and Nashville complaining about it.
I've never gone over and accosted my neighbor over his dog barking, but
I think what happens is sometimes, and I'm not justifying this, and I wasn't here when this ordinance was passed, but anyway, wouldn't mean that I wouldn't have done it if I was, but is that people are reluctant to talk to their neighbors about things that are uncomfortable, you know, to complain about their dog, to complain about their horses, to complain about their chicken, because they'd rather stay friendly even though they're unhappy.
is that how you feel?
That's not how I behave.